Yeah. Okay. Writer.
All this money, money, money coming to me. No handouts, I really had to do it for me. Watch me work, watch me work, watch me work. Get out the dirt.
Welcome to a new episode of the Beauty of Business podcast. Today's guest is an experienced marketer and is currently building Impact Launch, the best way to grow your online program. Welcome to the pod, David.
Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
How did you get started in business?
Great question. Well, I started in 2017 when I was about 16 years old. And there wasn't really like a mission of starting a business. It was more so like I was really good and really into filmmaking. And I thought, why not, start to build on that skill and actually monetize it a little bit. And so I went to a couple local businesses here and there and pitched my services, whatever. And that went pretty well. It was a very, very big learning experience. But then I found a lot more joy kind of doing it myself. And that's kind of how I built my name of, like who I am and showing my journey and like just going to all these different places. And so I would have a camera with me and I would just document and make like summer videos. So I would travel mostly in the summer and then just, the inspiration came from like Jay Alvarez. There was, I think, Sam Colder, and so a few others as well.
Best time to be on YouTube, to be honest.
Yeah. Those are the great times. and then it just kind of transformed into more so marketing. So, I was watching a lot of Gary Vee and Grant Cardone and Ty Lopez and stuff like that. And then I would start to learn Facebook ads, and that took a lot of skill building and a lot of hours in the trenches. And so that's when I started to take on some clients from there, and I would charge very little for it because I was very inexperienced, but obviously time grew on and my skill would also increase as well. So at that point, I started raising my ticket and I started to network a lot more and networking with extremely successful entrepreneurs. And we're talking 9-figure net worth. And that's when it really kicked off for me from there. And then I became like their marketing team for launching their programs, for building their email sequences, their ads, their funnels and all that stuff. And then it kicked off from there.
It's awesome. How did you get those clients when you were so young and it's still kind of early in the game? Because I just talked to a couple of Norwegian agency owners who were 19, 18 yesterday. And now we're at the stage where it's kind of given that people that age know what they're doing on social. Yeah. But this is 6-7 years ago. So how did you get those clients?
Yeah, I mean, when I was trying to grab traction, one thing that you have to realize is like, you can't waste these people's time, right? So you have to walk in with conviction of knowing what you're going to talk about. And so being at a young age, I had an unfair advantage of knowing what social media and Facebook ads were, aside from like everything else, because these people didn't know that, right? They didn't spend the time doing that. It's just not their quote unquote generation in a sense. And obviously it's not their problem. It's not their thing to deal with. So that's where I came in. And since I did so much of my study, the conviction, my tone was actually there to really support me and get my leg through the door. That's one thing. And then the second thing is yesterday, I filmed it yesterday. I did not post it yesterday, but I filmed this one video of how one person helped me do over $100,000 in cash. And it was because of just pure value that I gave to this one business owner. And he was actually nine-figure earner. He's had multiple exits of his franchises that he go ahead and to consult and then obviously exits the business. But I went out and built him a sales funnel that I normally would charge $10,000 for, completely for free, to launch his book. And I gave it to him. It turns out, long story short, he didn't have a marketing team, so I became the marketing team. And from there, he gave me equity into the company. And then he also introduced me to the person that wrote his book, who wrote books for like people like Dan Fleischman, Bobby Castro. There's a load of other people, and they all became my clients as well. And that's when everything kicked it off. And that's what I basically leverage upon, right? And it all started from the spark of giving genuine, pure value for free. So
it's been a hell of a ride then, and a good client list.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some different platforms. You mentioned you started on kind of YouTube and the video era, which I think many of us can relate to. And then Facebook ads. Since then, a lot of things have happened with Facebook and other platforms. So how do you feel about Facebook and Google and the different platforms now?
Yeah, it's very interesting. With some of the clients that we're working with now, we've seen a lot of FTC compliance coming down. So, with how many people are starting a business, earning income online and stuff like that, you have to be very, very careful with what you say, because not only are there legitimate people, but there's also people looking to scam others. And so they can be very identical to legitimate businesses. And so Facebook compliance and FTC compliance, Federal Trade Commission, have been cracking down on a lot of the claims that people make with making money online kind of stuff. So it's like you have to be able to back it up with proof or have a reversal, which is like a refund you kind of thing. So that's one. And when it comes to these platforms, you have to be able to test a lot. I mean, people have the expectation to come in, flip a switch, press a couple buttons, and boom, you're gonna make money. Well, I hate to break it to you, but not everything is sunshine and rainbows when it comes to that, right? So clients will come in, have the expectations that like, okay, this is finally the solution. Like this is, the thing that's going to help us go to the moon. And that's great, but it doesn't come lightly. It doesn't come easily. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of testing. There's a lot of research, right? And 80% of your job as a marketer and copywriter is to do research. The other 20% is actually doing the writing or doing the technical, whatever it is, right? So, it's such a highly competitive market that we're in for online coaches, because everyone and their mom is likely doing something, right? So the only two things that'll really make you stand out is either having a unique mechanism or knowing the person better than they know themselves inside of your marketing. And I mean, I spoke with Dan Kennedy, who's a direct response copywriter. And the other thing that he mentioned was the OG. Yeah. And so he was like, this was at Funnel Hacking Live. I had a private dinner with him. And he said, we're in a reputation economy where reputation controls the money at this point, right? So that's why branding is super important. That's why being different, because a lot of these coaches and agencies and stuff all do the same thing, but everyone has their little twist because of their reputation, because of who they are, right? And so as we're moving into like the future, for example, that is going to be insanely important to take into consideration for that, because it's getting super, super competitive.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see kind of similarities and differences, because we work in different markets as well. But kind of the Facebook, especially Facebook, when it comes to rules and privacy, and it kind of is the same line for everything. So we also noticed huge differences in the weight loss industry as well, because it used to be kind of before and after pics. Now you can't even do that. So
can't do that.
No. So it's been a lot of changes over the years, and it's getting harder to target the right kind of people as well. And the media buying side of things is more AI driven than before. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of role media buyers are going to have in the future.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, we spend thousands a day on ads, and, clients will come in and say that, it's the targeting that's not bringing in the clients. Well, that's why I keep telling you how important your copywriting is, because it's just use the AI platform to target the right people through there.
Yeah.
And that's why copywriting is such a powerful skill to hone in, because that is going to almost run your business in a sense.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the up and coming maybe TikTok ban?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I had a discussion about this, can't remember who with, but the audience is always going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
But right now, TikTok is better on Instagram Reel doesn't have search, and TikTok beats YouTube Shorts, at least in search, and the algorithm is so good, and the content is also interconnected, which is it's not on Reels or Shorts. So it's very interesting to see what that man might bring.
Yeah, I haven't read up too much on it, but if that company gets bought out by Rumble, for example,
Yeah,
that's a very massive funnel that could happen, because they can use that to filter more people onto Rumble, and the Rumble takes a huge jump from there. Be very interesting. Be very, very interesting to see what's going to happen. I haven't read too much on it, but
I just I got the CEO of TikTok on my For You page, and then it's serious.
yeah.
You mentioned copywriting. One of the main areas for copywriting is, of course, email marketing.
Yeah,
it's been great for a very long time. How do you see email marketing going, and what's kind of the best tips for email marketers?
So email marketing is just reputation building. I mean, reputation building and relationship building. Throughout time, it's really changed from, I feel like, just direct into more so relationship building through it. And that is what really builds a lot of trust with the audience. I mean, if you take a look at someone like, Dan Kennedy or Russell Brunson, or Iman Gadzhi, for example, like all these people are just building relationships with their people, so that when they do go and pitch, the trust is already built. They feel like they're buying from a friend, for example, because they know them in and out. And so, yeah, direct can work. It still does. But your audience is going to be, they're going to go kind of like through a drought in a sense. It's just not going to be best to always pitch. So you have to go indirect. You have to tell stories. You have to be able to resonate with them, and even lead with problems that they may not even know that they have sometimes, right? That's how you build a reputation. That's how you build a relationship with these people. And it's a very, very easy thing to do, right? It's just getting in the reps and actually doing it at the end of the day.
I actually had a discussion in one of Russell Brunson's YouTube videos. Lately, he put out one direct marketing versus brand building, which is an interesting discussion, but the answer is quite obvious, because he puts out a YouTube video, which is branding. So for short term, direct might work and get great results, like Dan Kennedy and Russell Brunson talks about. But at the end of the day, it's the brand that actually converts over time.
Yeah. Because there is still strong value that comes from indirect.
Yeah.
And that's where the long-term aspect comes in. Because people want to be associated with you and your brand for a while, right? Rather than just pitch.
Yeah.
So,
you have built funnels for 7 years now. There's always been a lot of talk about funnels, and we've had ClickFunnels ads since I was born, I think. What are your best funnel building tips? and kind of where do you build your funnel and how?
Yeah. So I moved off of ClickFunnels and into GHL just because we have a lot of sub accounts that we use for our clients. So it's part of our offer that we kind of just give it to them. I typically really enjoy the standard ClickFunnels, but the 2.0 is still, work in progress.
Yeah.
There's a lot behind the scenes going on to get the product up to date, I feel like. And GHL, like Go High Level, is just, it has everything that's needed, right? And I've never really had a problem with it. It's got everything that anyone could possibly need, and it's super easy once you understand how it operates. So that's what we do. But in terms of, funnel design and all that stuff, I mean, you can have a really, really good looking funnel, but it's more so of the copywriting that actually that converts the customer, right? The design does help because it shows that, it's high budget. You have a, good team behind you versus something that's just bootstrapped, right? But depending on the market, just simple words and a button can work. You may not even need a picture, right? I mean, we've pumped hundreds of thousands of dollars into funnels that are just Frank Kern style, where it's just a bunch of words, it's a headline, subhead, and it's a button, and it converts, and it does really well. Because every
actually converted on that today, to be honest. So
there you go.
It's interesting,
right? So because people kind of just want it straight to the point. They don't really want to sit there anymore. Just like they've seen all the claims, they've seen everything. So it's like, how good can your copywriting be that'll can be able to convert them with the least amount of words possible, right? So, to kind of sum that up, I mean, you always have to be testing. I mean, like sometimes you can go for a 50-minute long webinar, or you could do like a 15-minute VSL. You just got to see which one's going to resonate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why have you specifically chosen to work with online programs or coaches now?
So my program is called Impact Launch, and we focus on impact-driven programs, right? And that's all self-taught. That's all like self-education. And I think that is by far one of the most important things that us humans can go through, because it builds you as a person internally, because you're also proactively learning. You're not being forced to learn just like it's in college or something like that. So the results and the performance that come out of it are 10x stronger because you're taking proactive work, proactive action. And so once I kind of figured that out, I knew like that's where, because that's how I was built, right? Self-education. And on top of that, that's how my father was built as well. I mean, he came to the US as an immigrant, and, from age of 13 to like 18, he was working his butt off, and he learned engineering all by himself, right? He's all very, very self-taught, and it's what brought him to where he is today as a man, as a leader. And I think that everyone else should be able to do that, but not also suffer as hard as my dad did. So, if I can facilitate and make the process easier for people to make an income online, or just be able to support their own selves through running a business or just learning, that's ultimately the goal. So,
the online coaching and business space is kind of two-sided, because you have the good kind of programs and people in the space, and then you have kind of the coaching gurus and the programs. How do you choose which clients to work with, and how do you market to the right types of clients?
Good question. So I feel like just who you are is who you attract. So I'm not crazy showy on social media with, materialistic things. And so if you are, for example, a person that is like that, you will attract others to do the same. And that goes with all things in life, right? If you're a lazy person, you attract lazy people. If you're a fit person, you attract fit people. And I feel like just the way I've been kind of marketing and showing the brand has been attracting other people like that. And the way I show up to the calls and the way I set the standard. So you can attract the people that you want to work with, but you can also push away people that you don't want to work with, right? So when I see, clients are all about the hype or stuff like that, it's not usually the most important thing for me to spend my time on, because that's not what's going to drive results. What's going to drive results is you being in the trenches, like 14-hour days, 16-hour days, and actually grinding it out for the next like 5 years, 10 years, right? And then also figuring out like what's their 10, 20-year vision. Doesn't even have to be that big, but what's your vision for the next 3 years, right? Like, do you know what you want to do, or do you just want to keep posting on social media and look like you're doing something? Yeah. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to qualify as much as, or disqualify as much as you qualify as well.
Yeah.
I think that's such a big factor, because people want to accept as many clients through, but it's a double-edged sword, right? When you disqualify, you're able to be selective with who you want to work with, and then you set the tone in the marketplace for yourself and for your business.
So no get rich quick schemes in your portfolio?
Nope. Never. Nope.
That's smart. Oh, it's very interesting, because I see the same thing. I have, like I told you, I have this podcast and I have a podcast in Norwegian, and then we kind of always ask the question of, how do you see yourself in 3 or 5 years? And if you've started a business or some type of project and you don't have some sort of a vision for the next 3 years, then I don't know what to tell you, but you're kind of walking in the dark with your eyes closed as well. So
yeah, I think the other thing is people have a hard time finding it.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that it stops them from taking action. The way I've found it is that you just have to do the work, and it'll come to you over time. Because if you don't do anything, you don't have a direction to at least look, towards, right? You could look in this direction and this direction, but if you don't apply any action, you're not going to know which one to actually just start with, right? So yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, it's super, super important to have one. But if someone's like struggling to actually find one, it's like, just get started. Just do something.
Yeah.
Right? Take the baby steps and you'll figure it out on the journey.
You have a event coming up called Conversion Summit.
I do.
What is it, and why are we doing event?
Yeah. So it's actually been on my goals list for a couple of years, because I used to attend so many events, and I kind of just dwindled down a little bit more, because a lot of them are just pitch fests. And then when I started joining masterminds, obviously there's nothing really to pitch there. It's just value. So I was like, okay, that's what I want to be a part of. And I knew everyone there because we were all in the same program, right? So I was like, let me host one. And so it kind of just started off as me, and then I introduced a couple more speakers into it. And now it's on April 27th in New Jersey, in the US, and we're going to be all sharing our lead gen and sales strategies. Me personally, that I've used to do over $1 million in sales, but like how all the other speakers have also used it to build up their business and their clients' businesses too. And so we have, one of the speakers in the real estate market. We have one in the fitness coaching market. We have me, obviously, in just marketing, lead gen. And then we have one in personal branding, who actually built the brands for Tate, for Jay Waller, for Sartorial Shooter, like all those big personal brands. So, we're going to be sharing all of our experiences and kind of just being able to influence others on how they can do the same when they're not up there, when they maybe are just starting out, or they're at like $10,000 a month, right? Or even $20,000 a month. or have like 1,000 followers or something like that. But it's there to give direction by sharing our experiences. So
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I think also I can relate to the kind of pitch fest events and summits. It's you pay to go there or you're invited to go there, and it's very boring. Yes, we get to meet people and stuff, but kind of content is not valuable at all. So it's gonna be interesting to see how you do. You're gonna film it?
Oh yeah. Yes. It won't be live on Zoom, but we will film it. So no.
We've already touched on it a little bit, but there's been an insane amount of agencies and kind of service providers popping up over the last couple of years, especially maybe through Imangazi or similar people and courses. What are your thoughts around all of these new people starting out?
I don't want to say they're entering late into the game, but just the competition is getting more and more and more. And so not only is it actual business that will help you supersede the competition, it's more so mindset, it's more so grit and how much you're willing to outwork everyone else. I was watching a video yesterday about from Patrick Bet-David, who is also one of our clients 1 or 2 years ago. And he was talking about grit, and he used the event, the UFC event that Trump was at. And the UFC events usually last until like 2 a.m., right? Yeah. And it's like, he was texting Dana White, who's the UFC president, about, you know, he really wants to make it. He texted him at like 3 or 4 in the morning, or 3 in the morning. He's like, you know, trying to figure it out. 8 a.m. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be there. And it's like, this guy is in his 70s. He's running for president. He's going through so many lawsuits. He's going through all this crap. And he's still able to make something like that a priority. While the other guy, Mr. Joseph, is probably in bed at like 8 p.m., right? So he talks about this not to make fun of whoever it is, but to show that like your enemies are either willing or not willing to outbeat you. Yeah. And it's how much grit you have at the end of the day. And so with these, you know, new agencies coming out and stuff like that, it's gonna be really, really rough. It already is, but it just comes down to doing your research, putting in the time, putting in the effort, talking to the right people, working on yourself, and cutting out all the noise for the next couple of years if you actually want to be successful. Because it is extremely difficult. But if you're able to outlast everyone else, you will get far with it in all areas.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. People just underestimate like how much work it actually takes.
Yeah, and how long, because we see these kind of young people, and it's awesome that they actually want to build something and start out, but they also do not have any perspective of how long this is going to take and how much effort it takes and where they're going to be in 3 to 5 years, like we just talked about. So it's kind of, I think the mindset is to make the kind of 10K, 5K a month, and then they still live at home or are in college, which 5 to 10K is a huge amount of money when you don't have any expenses. Yeah. But it kind of also hurts the reputation of the agency model or marketing industry, because the quality control is very, very bad.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, I'll get on the phone with a lot of people and they say that they got screwed over by agencies or whatever it is. So, I mean, like, if you don't want to be that person who has a bad reputation, just work on the skill of marketing. Like, you could set up the business, you could set up the operations, but understand what marketing is. Like, people just don't put enough time into that, because your skill is ultimately going to determine how well you can compete in the marketplace. Because, like, what else is there to compete with? Like you're super good at your service, super good coach, super good agency. Like that's already one of the strongest points because everyone else will come to you if you're just that good. And it doesn't even have to be complicated either. Just get good at one thing. Get good at writing emails, get good at writing, ads, right? Don't overcomplicate it. Simple scales, fancy fills, right? Just like Hormozy says.
Yeah.
So I think if people just honed in on learning not the skill of business more so, but the skill of copywriting or the skill of marketing itself, like you'll be able to actually get your foot in the water.
Yeah, and it's also very interesting to see if you're, especially on Twitter as well. You can see kind of super nerds in just one specific area, which is either copywriting or Google Ads. I think Jason Blackledge or something on Google Ads, his agency does 450K a month, and they only do Google Ads, which is insane.
Yeah.
And then all these people starting out are going to do TikTok, Meta, Google, Snapchat, everything. And then it's kind of, you see where the pendulum kind of swings, be an expert in what you actually do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's such a crucial thing because instead of having 5 different focuses, you have one. Like imagine you put, like what you should ask yourself, like, what do you think would scale faster if you have 25% focus in 4 things or 100% focus in one thing?
Yeah.
Right. It's just logic at that point.
What are your goals in business?
Oof. It's a big question. Definitely kind of going back to what we were talking about of like building a mechanism to help others scale their impact-driven programs and actually get it out to the world. That's definitely one. Another one is, this is more of a personal one, but to obviously retire my parents. I think that's, thing I've been working for like every single day just to get up to that point. And I think another goal is to kind of be a beacon of light for younger men. I don't really do any of that just yet, but I do get a lot of questions about it. I have friends who are starting businesses and some of them are younger than me. And I think it's coming clear that it would definitely help them because I tend to cut out all the bullshit. I don't really sugarcoat anything. I just give it straight to them. And there was one kid, he was the brother of my, one of my like hometown good friends. And he would ask me so many questions about starting a business. And I would just, no ask, I would just give it to him. Like, just take it, bro. And he would apply it. And that's why I gave it to him, because he would apply it right away.
Yeah.
And I think, there's a lot of people like that are looking for the guidance because there's so much noise out there. And I think over time, I feel like that's where I'm going to start to move into it. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm seeing to happen pretty often recently. So
it's awesome. And it's also very cool because we started the podcast with you saying when you started out, it was kind of it wasn't a big goal or kind of planned out, but it always kind of finds its own path.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How are you gonna get there? Kind of, especially retiring your parents is awesome, but that is kind of a money goal. But the last part with kind of being a beacon for younger men, how are you gonna do that?
I think just having my own taste on things and just keeping it authentic and different. That's one. And then doing a lot of collabs with people who are similar to the style I do, but also can help to get different perspectives from other people as well. Because one thing that I really like of what PBD does is he interviews people from all sides of the spectrum and lets them debate. So it allows you to see the opposite side and to consider different perspectives. Like you could debate Democrat, Republican, right? I mean, we've seen like a crazy stretch between them, but
Yeah.
There's some good things between each side, right? If you take a look at Grant Cardone with his marketing style, people may not really like that, but you got to have respect for the hustle that he's doing to get up to that point. You know what I mean? So looking at both sides is super, super crucial. So that's that. And then I guess it just really comes down to being my authentic self, but also consistent with it.
Yeah.
Consistent with that, and then consistent with actually pushing that brand, pushing that message out, and having a long-term vision that's outside of business. That's like transforming the way that people live their life, right? Or how it's optimized or something like that. So yeah, business, cool, whatever, making money, but there's a lot more that comes down to it, like fulfillment, taking care of your family, taking care of your loved ones, like people that have been closest to you, how to build social circles, how to build your faith, right? In Christianity, I think that's another really, really big thing that I'm going to include in that as well. I'm not really, the best to really talk about that, but whatever I can to do would definitely help for sure.
We had Chris Lee on the podcast, the first episode, and he is very into his faith, and every Wednesday he goes to temple and serves. And it's been interesting for me to see, because where I'm from in Norway, kind of, it's a Christian country, but it's not really, we're not very much practicing. So it's been interesting to see kind of different people from all over the world and their kind of view of faith and business and how they are kind of connected. So yeah, I'm kind of reconsidering my stance.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. But I will say, I mean, having God as a foundation is again a beacon of light, right? I mean, it's like you have to have something that you follow to guide you through life, because you can't get it done on your own, right? And then just the mercifulness, like the blessing that God provides is something that you can't get on this world alone, So.
Do you have a number?
What do you mean?
Amount where you're kind of satisfied, or is that not in your mind at all?
Not really. I mean, as long as, it gets to where I don't have to worry about it, I feel like, because I don't want to make that obviously the focus of where I'm trying to get to, for sure. So
that makes sense. So our final question is always the same, and that is, what is the beauty of business to you?
It is the journey. It is the fulfillment that comes from the journey. I tell people this all the time. It's like, you don't find fulfillment in the end result. You find fulfillment in the everyday journey of the hustle, of like accomplishing things, of getting things done, getting from point A to point B, and then all the way to point Z. That's where the fulfillment comes from. And I think the biggest thing that like people don't talk about is that they always sell the end goal. But like, once you have everything, once you have the cars, the family, the house, it's like, what's next? You've been all around the world. What's next? Right? You're not going to just sit on the beach every single day. You're going to do something. Otherwise you will get bored. Right. And so it just comes down from feeling fulfilled 100%.
That's awesome. Where can people find you, reach out to you, and also the link to your event for the people in the US?
Yeah, so usually all my social medias are just under my first and last name, so David Balji, Balji. And if anyone's looking to grab a ticket to the Convergence Summit, it'll be in New Jersey, United States, on April 27th, and it's at the like the DoubleTree Hotel. It's pretty sweet, so it's a really cool venue. But the domain is just fixmyoutreach.com/event, and you'll be able to grab a ticket from there.
Awesome. Links to you and the event will be in description and show notes. And thank you for doing this.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.